Please join us weekly for the 12th District with yours truly, Carrie Condata. Check your channel guide for times or go to ncwlife.com for details.
Welcome to a special edition of the NCW Life magazine. Pybus University, where learning is a lifelong adventure. The Pybus Public Market is pleased to offer a series of unique and fun classes for the Wenatchee Valley community. Classes are taught by local volunteers with an interest and aptitude in the subjects that they teach.
So, my name is Hayley, and I work with an organization called Fostering Washington. We are a grant-funded program of Eastern Washington University's College of Social Sciences. We have a contract with the state to recruit foster parents. We also provide support to people through the licensing process. So if you do decide you want to take that next step, we'll be there with you. If you have questions, concerns, we can help you with those things. And then we're also there to help provide support to licensed families. So that's how I know a couple of your friends. I've met them at various programs that we put on for licensed families. So I'm glad that they've been there. They're great guides for you guys too. But so I'm gonna give you our little Mythbusters presentation. Basically, it's kind of an information session. There's a lot of myths out there about fostering. People think, well, I can't be a foster parent because of X, Y, or Z. So we're hoping to dispel some of those myths here today and give you a little bit of information about, who can foster. And then we talk a little bit about what foster parents go through when they're fostering. So here we go. Let's dispel some myths. All right. So myth number one. You have to be licensed with the state in order to be a foster parent. So that's actually not true. There are agencies called child placing agencies, who are private foster care agencies, that you could also elect to be licensed with. I do not have the list with me right here right now, but if you would like that, I could gladly email that to you. But there are a few here in Wenatchee, Children's Home Society and Community Resources Group. There are a couple in Moses Lake as well that have some homes in this area. So there's Community and Family Services and Service Alternatives. But I can get you that list of folks. You can check out their webpage, contact their staff to talk to them to see, what are they about, to see if it's a good fit for your family. Some people think, I don't know, some people sometimes have relatives that come into foster care and they think that you have to be licensed in order to provide care for that relative. And that's not true. You can be an unlicensed relative caregiver. However, I tend to encourage people to get licensed if they do have a relative that comes into care, basically because there's a little bit more support there available for families. They get the training, which is, I think, important for people who are caring for children who've experienced trauma, which most children in foster care have experienced. But they get the extra training. There are some extra supports. You have mainly there's more financial support, let's be honest. Children are really expensive, and so I encourage families, if they can do the steps to get licensed, to do that, because there's that extra financial support there for them. A lot of people think you have to have this gorgeous, amazing home to be a foster parent, and that is not true. People can rent and still be foster parents. There are certain home safety checklists that a licensor will do to make sure your home is safe to be approved to care for a child in foster care, but you don't have to have this gorgeous, amazing home. And when they do come out to do your home inspection, they're not going to white glove your house or, make sure it's just picture perfect. They're just looking for basic safety and safety things to make sure that kiddos can be safe in your home. Some people also think you have to be very wealthy to be a foster parent, and that's not true as well. You do have to show that you have sufficient income to support your family, because they don't want you relying on, there are foster care payments for foster parents, they don't want you relying on that payment to pay your bills. That money is for the child or children to meet their needs. So there is a minimum income guideline, and then there's a financial form that the licensor will ask families to fill out. But it's just to basically show that you're not relying on that foster care payment to pay your bills. Some people think that they might say, well, I have kind of a small house. I probably wouldn't be approved because children can't share rooms. It's another myth. Children are allowed to share rooms in foster care. So children under 5 can share a room with a separate gender. So boys and girls can share a room. 6 and up, it has to be the same gender. And our little ones, our newborn to 12 months, can actually room share with parents, which I think is actually fairly progressive, which is good. So no bed sharing, but room sharing. You could have a crib and a safe sleep space in your room for the little ones to be in there with you, if that's what you choose. There are quite a few tribes, as you know, in the state of Washington, and the tribes have their own child placing agencies. So it's actually a myth. Some people think that you would have to be enrolled in a tribe to foster for a tribe, and that is not true. I work up in Okanagan County as well as fostering Washington, and have partnered with the Colville Confederated Tribes child placing agencies. And I know they say they prefer that someone have some kind of connection to the tribe so that you're helping preserve their children's heritage, but you don't have to be an enrolled member of a tribe to be licensed with a tribe. It says only Native American children would be placed in your home if you're licensed with a tribe. And that's actually a myth as well, which I'll say though, for working up with the Colville Confederated Tribes, I know they're really needing homes up there badly, so it's rare that a child that for at least that agency is placed with them that's not from the tribe. So a little information there. This is definitely a fear for foster parents. They worry that maybe the child's biological parents will know where they live. And I'm not going to say it can't happen, but it is rare. I know that the state tries very hard. Well, they will not share your home address with a biological parent. Medical providers, people know to not share your contact information. So they try very hard to make sure that that's not out there for parents to know. Some people think that there has to be a stay-at-home parent, but no, that's not true. You don't have to be have a stay-at-home parent if you're a 2-parent couple. Actually, most of our foster parents do work, so that's not an issue. The state will pay for child care for children who are placed in your home if you both are working parents. I will say though, I know here in the Valley, child care is pretty hard to come by. So that's something to consider when you're thinking about whatever age range of children you're wanting to have placed in your home. So it's hard to find, but it's there. And people can come into your home and provide child care. The state will pay them, but it's like $2 or something like that. So it's not much at all, but they will do that. So, which is something to know, they will pay for child care.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life Community Calendar at ncwlife.com.
Okay, and this is, you must be married to be a foster parent. That is not true. Single, married, or partner people, or LGBTQ folks could be a foster parent. And I think the reason why LGBTQ is thrown in there, so lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning, is just to say that no one's sexual orientation is going to deny them to be a foster parent. So some people worry about, well, I have this dog or this cat and I can't be a foster parent. So that is false. Foster parents are allowed to have pets in their home. There's no vicious breed ban or anything like that. But the licensors, they will determine basically if they think your pet is safe to be around children. I don't know what tests they use, but sure if they open the door, if they get mauled by your pet when they open the door, they might say, well, this might not be a good fit unless you get rid of that dog. So, or your cat decides to, claw their face, that might not be good. So, there's that. I do know they want to make sure that they see your vaccination records for your pets if you have them. So you'll need to have that as well to go with your application packet. So this is kind of one that goes for if you were a foster parent. When people get licensed, they get really eager and they're excited, which is awesome, and you want that, and they're like, they call me and this is it, we're going to take this kid. I encourage you, if you do decide to get licensed and you get those phone calls, to really think about how would this child fit into our life. Are we going to be on vacation next week and we can't take this child with us? you may want to consider waiting. Or if they tell you something about the child and you're like, I don't know if that would jive with our family very well, it's perfectly okay to say, I'm sorry, this isn't a good time, or I don't think that sounds like a good fit for our family. It's perfectly okay to do that. I encourage people to do that too, because if the child doesn't seem like it's a good fit for your family, it's not a good fit for that child, and ultimately that's what's most important. We want that child to be where they can have their needs met and feel safe. Thanks to the movies out there, kiddos in foster care tend to get a pretty bad rep, they're like these evil children or something. It's like, why do you have to cast them in that light? There's a belief out there that kids in foster care are just bad kids. That's a really unfortunate label that's out there, but it's false. Just regular kids who have gone through pretty traumatic situations, and sometimes because of the traumas they've experienced in their homes, they can manifest in behaviors, and some of them are coping skills, some of them are just that fight or flight kind of mechanism. Sometimes it's just a regular old attention-seeking behavior or testing. Kids in foster care will often test to see, are you going to give up on me? Are you going to leave me? And that's hard as a caregiver, I can imagine, but they're wanting to see, are you going to stick with me through this? So not bad kids, may have some challenging behaviors at times, but there are supports there for you guys, and we'll talk about those to help you deal with those challenges. This is kind of along those same lines, that children in foster care have been abused so much they're beyond repair. There's no hope for them. They're always going to be stuck in this trauma phase and whatnot, and that wouldn't really be making a difference. And that's a big false. It's a big false. You can make a profound impact on a child's life. You'll be able to teach children about, this is what a healthy, normal family looks like, so that they have that model to then carry on their life when they have children and have a family of their own. This is what it looks like to maintain employment, because a lot of our kids in care, their families struggle with doing that. This is how a healthy family communicates. We don't hit each other, we don't throw things at each other. We don't cuss each other out. These are things that they have experienced in their homes, not all of them, but many of them. And so it's good for them to see, this is how a healthy family functions. That's hugely important. Once you take a child into your home, so you've got that call, you've got the kiddo, and there's some challenges, and you're thinking, oh, but there are supports out there. You're not in this alone. So every child in foster care will have their own social worker. The social workers are there for you to help you, answer questions, concerns. The social worker supervisors here in the Wenatchee office are wonderful. Well, the social workers are too. But they encourage you to reach out to them if you maybe aren't able to reach the worker for whatever reason. They might be dealing with a crisis at that moment, or they're in court or whatever. The supervisors really encourage the foster parents to reach out to them. You're not, getting their worker in trouble. They just want to make sure that you guys are getting what you need to take care of those kids. So there's the licensor who does your home study and everything. The licensor is there for you as well. But us, Fostering Washingtons, that's kind of where we come in. We're here as well. We use what's called a peer mentor model. So I actually supervise the peer mentors for the counties that I cover with Fostering Washington. We have some great peer mentors. Well, I think all of them are great, but there's some really, really, really good ones here. I have 3. One's with a private agency and 2 are from the state. 2 of them have adopted, so if that's something you have on your heart, they could talk with you about that. We provide support groups, so we have a monthly support group that meets. Wenatchee First Assembly has generously opened up their doors to us and allow us to utilize their space. There's a weekly coffee group that meets every week at Starbucks, which is awesome. It's a great tight-knit group. It's mainly the mamas, but so they get there, they talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and just whatever. They just started a clothing closet here in Wenatchee called the Hope Chest. which I love that name. And I can't think of which church it's in right now. I think it's Hope Church, or New Hope Church. But so there's a is that something with Living Hope? Yes, Living Hope Church has opened its doors. And there's a great clothing closet. The community has been bringing donations left and right. I mean, it's awesome to see. CASA here in Chelan and Douglas County is amazing. I think what they tell me that every kid in care they have matched with a volunteer, which is amazing. Other areas that I cover don't have that many CASA volunteers. They come out to the home. They're that child's voice in court, which is amazing. They provide a little bit of financial support for things like extracurricular activities. One of my peer mentors said that she's never had to pay for baseball for any of her boys that were in her home because CASA she'd say, I need this for baseball. They'd say, here you go. So it's just, it's a really, really amazing and supportive community because we really want to make sure that you all as families are getting what you need to help take care of those kids. So some people ask if they have to provide medical insurance for kids in foster care who are in their home. And nope, you don't have to do that. So the children will all have health insurance that covers their medical, dental, and vision, and counseling services if needed. So you're never ever responsible for a medical bill for a child in your care. If you happen to ever get a bill sent to you in your name for a child in care, get it to that social worker, they'll take care of it. So I actually used to be a child welfare social worker, that's my background. And occasionally I would get a bill for a child that was on my caseload in the mail, and I'd be like, kind of my kid, but not my kid. So, and I never got, it didn't mess up my credit, okay? So we're good. But if you ever get a bill by some odd reason, get that to the worker, they'll take care of it.
Are you wanting high-speed internet but don't have access to PUD fiber? Try Sky-Fi high-speed wireless internet from LocalTel. Call 888-8888 today.
Sometimes I have people, they'll share with me they have some kind of criminal background and they're worried they'll automatically be disqualified. So that's not necessarily true. Not every crime is an automatic disqualifier, but you can imagine there are some that would be like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. Okay, we won't go there, but and there's some that also have like a limitation, like a 5-year disqualifying. But if that's a concern for you, let your licensor know and they'll let you know. If I had $1 for every time I heard this when I'm out recruiting families and meeting families, my pockets would be overflowing right now. I get it, you put your heart out there and you're thinking, but I'm gonna pour my love into this child and there's a chance this child might leave. And that's a reality. That's reality because foster care is meant to be a temporary situation. The hope is that families get rehabilitated and healthy enough to have that child reunified. But the reality is that doesn't always happen. So there's a chance that child will go back home. There's a chance they might be able to stay in your home forever if that's what you're hoping for. Every child in foster care deserves to have someone whose heart will break for them. They deserve to have someone who's going to pour that much love into them, show them that healing home, that healing space that they need, that makes that difference in their lives forever. So every child deserves that. So I say, if you think I might get too attached and that's your one reason, I say then you're exactly who we want to be foster parents. You're exactly who we want and exactly who we need. So, and with that, that's all I have for our myths. Do you guys have any questions that you can think of? Sure, great question. So the steps to be a foster parent are, there's really no, they don't have a sequence, I'll tell you that. There's no this, and this. But one of the steps is to attend an orientation with a licensor, whether you choose to go through a private child placing agency or the state. You would go to orientation. The one with the state, they do a class, and it meets on the first Wednesday of every month, from 2 to 5 at the DSHS office in Wenatchee. I believe that's 801 Mission Street. I believe that's the address. But so that's every month. And then that licensor, her name is Nora, She's also willing to do individual one-on-one meetings if that time doesn't work for you. The private agencies tend to do all one-on-one orientations, so they don't do a big class. So if that's something you're interested in, again, I'll get you the list of licensors and you can contact them. So that's one of the steps, is to go to orientation. And then there's also something called Caregiver Core Training. It's a 24-hour class. It's usually broken down to about 2 weekends. And there they talk about things like the effects of abuse and neglect on child development, partnering with, being a member of a professional team, partnering with the state and service providers, the court process, because it's a big part of child welfare, is the court process. So they talk about things like that at the Caregiver Core Training. And then there's a home study. So the home study is where the licensor, there's a nice stack of paper that they'll go over with you at orientation. And you get the paperwork done, you get that submitted to the licensor, and they will do a home study. They're going to come out, they want to get to know you, get to know your family, and answer your questions. And then if everyone's on the same page and everyone agrees, stamp, you're a foster parent, and you're waiting for those phone calls, basically. So yeah.
Is there anybody that shouldn't be a foster parent?
That shouldn't?
Yeah.
People with a child abuse neglect history. But no, sure, no, absolutely, no. So one of the, anyone who's under 21 cannot be a foster parent. So 21 and up, be a foster parent. If they're a partnered though, and one of the partners is over 21, if someone's say 20, whatever age, they could foster as a couple. But no, I can't really think of anyone that wouldn't be, unless there's some significant, criminal or mental health history. That people that have the hearts and the space, and say that's who we need. That's who we need.
What are the rules, like if you go on vacation? Like what do you take the child with you, or what are the...
Okay, great question. Just so they hear you on the camera. So they said if if the family's going on vacation, what do you do? What are the rules? You take the kid with you. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to. So you don't have to. You can if you want to. You'll have to make arrangements with the child's worker to let them know, and you have to get approval and that sort of thing. But if it's like, hey, mom and dad just want to get away and have a child this weekend, you can do that. So there's something called respite in foster care, where a social worker will basically send out a message to all the foster parents in the area and say, we have a family who has 2 kids, whatever age. They're looking for someone to provide care for this child while they go on vacation for X amount of days. So you can do that. You can do that too.
So does it have to be respite care? Like if it couldn't be like my parents.
Right.
They have
No.
to go to...
No, yes, great question. So no, it does not have to be a licensed respite provider. Now if someone wants to come in your home, like your family, they would want to have background checks and everything on them, but that's totally doable and fine. Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. Yep.
But they have to come into our house. They can't go to their house to stay.
They might be able to. It would be something where I know that the worker would want to do a background check and everything like that. There are some possibilities that they might be able to go to their house, but I know they for sure can come to your house. Yeah.
What's a foster parent's responsibility for health care? And do they have the ability to take the child to the ER room, to the doctor, or what's the parent's responsibility?
Yes. So, so I do know, I know it's at least within the first week of a child being placed in your home, the child needs to be seen by a doctor. It might be 72 hours, so don't quote me on that. The workers will definitely, I'm rusty on those things. But so you can take them to whatever doctor, as long as they take the coordinated care health insurance, and most providers do, and they'll let you know who does. You can take the child to an ER if you need to have, for emergency care. That's totally allowed as well. Mm-hmm.
So they have permission to do that?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. When it comes to like surgeries and things like that, which would be more something that's scheduled, the social worker needs to be involved in those sorts of things. And if you had to take a child to the emergency room for something, it's pretty much your lifeline is always tell the social worker, tell the social worker. Yes. So you're kind of co-parenting with a state agency, basically. But it's yeah, we have to keep the workers involved with that. Mm-hmm.
What is the benefit of going through a private agency versus the state?
Good. Huh? Oh, you still there's question. So one of the benefits of being with a private agency versus the state, well, so most of the time the children that get placed in a home with a private agency are children who have a little higher needs, if you will. The state uses a leveling system so they can make sure that children are getting the services they need based upon that level. It's almost, think about insurance almost, you know, how they, but if a child meets the level to be in a private agency home, they would get referred to the agency. They look to match the family with the child, and then the family though has more support with the private agency than maybe they would with the state. So if the child's in a state home, you've got the state worker and the supervisors and whatnot. If the child's in a private agency home, they have case managers. They have, a lot of them have case aides, what they call them. And they still also have that state worker tied to them as well. So you just have a little extra support built in because they know this kiddo may have a little higher needs. Let's make sure this family is getting extra support to meet that child's needs. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out. Appreciate it.
Is your vehicle in need of a quick oil change or tune-up before hitting the road this summer? Stop by Quick Lube and Tune, the home of the good guys at 610 South Wenatchee Avenue.